Mr. President, members, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be back here. It's particularly a pleasure to be speaking on a motion that isn't related to higher education funding, which I've done on the previous occasions that I've been here. And I should say, for those of you that are paying, home and EU students that are paying £9,000 a year, don't hold it against me. I am desperately sorry, but I hope that doesn't take into account your views when it comes to voting this evening. So let me turn to the motion in hand. Popular support is enough to justify a platform. Let's be clear that there are no qualifications and context that's provided around the motion this evening. And the bulk of my remarks is going to be to try and expose how the lack of context that is around this motion is deeply problematic, is unsafe, and therefore the grounds for my opposition this evening. Because the debate that we're having this evening doesn't mean that we can't be comfortable with people's views, and we've had the case very prominently already that free speech should be allowed. But the previous speaker, Heather, mentioned that we shouldn't grant a trusted platform to people with particular views. And I dwell on the use of the word trusted because that isn't in the wording of the motion. No such safeguard is provided. There isn't any safeguard to ensure that the platform that's being provided is indeed a trusted one. It simply says that if there are enough people offering support for a particular motion or a particular view, that therefore we should provide a platform for them. There's also no safeguard when it comes to the meaning of the word popular. What constitutes popularity? Is it a majority? Is it 30%? Is it 3%? Is it 0.3%? Is it simply just a few people holding a view? I'd argue that certainly in certain instances where a small number of people hold a deeply unpalatable view, we need to ask a question about whether we should provide those people with a platform, particularly a platform that has no safeguard around it. And I'll return to that in a second. Because I think the lack of there being a trusted platform is central to the argument that at least I want to put forward. Because I think one of the arguments that's put forward for the case for free speech is that intelligent people who have evidence in front of them are able to discern when someone's putting forward a deeply unpalatable view. And often it's said, for instance, in relation to the British National Party, that they dig their own grave, that they make their own trouble by saying the distasteful, disgusting, and mindless comments that they make. But that assumes that there will actually be some scrutiny of the view that is put forward. And I have to say, in an environment like this, where there is a debate, yes, there will be some scrutiny, and there's an opportunity sometimes for those views to be challenged. But there's two major pitfalls, in my view, with that being something that we can be comfortable with. The first is we can't assume that every platform allows for an element of scrutiny and of challenge to the views that are put forward. Many times an individual will speak without challenge, and particularly in front of some audiences, not a learned one perhaps like this, but in some instances those views will go unchallenged, and therefore they are allowed to permeate in a way in which they shouldn't. But the second is, there is genuinely a question about what individuals should be subjected to and what we should allow some individuals to be subjected to. And I don't think in a society which is supposed to be modern and civilized, that we should really allow such extreme filth to be subjected to individuals. Some individuals will say, yes, I can take it on the chin and I can disagree with it and I'll feel absolutely fine afterwards. But there are some individuals who, when listening to particularly extreme views, don't just feel uncomfortable and able to take it on the chin. They feel persecuted, and they feel more than uncomfortable. They feel a victim in the presence of those people. And I, for one, am not an individual that would be prepared to tolerate such disgraceful views to be put forward without sufficient safeguards around those individuals. And let me go a little further, because I don't want to just imagine being in a room like this. We provide no qualification around the platform. So, for instance, the platform could be in a school. Again, the wording of the motion is sufficiently unclear that we could, if there is sufficient public support or a popular belief behind something, wheel in the most unpalatable characters into environments where, with the best will in the world, I don't think even if you allowed for sufficient scrutiny, it would be desirable or tenable to allow particular views to be put forward. So again, the lack of qualification around what constitutes popularity and what constitutes the safeness of the platform, I think, are central arguments behind the opposition that I've got this evening. The final point that I want to put forward does come to the issue of no platform, and I completely agree with the original opposition speech this evening. And whilst the terms of the debate are not just about no platform, I think they are relevant in the context of the debate more generally. I was proud that when I was president of the National Union of Students, we did reaffirm a no platform policy for certain prescribed groups and individuals. And the justification for doing that was that we are, or NUS is, a membership organisation. And a membership organisation can choose who it chooses to invite through the door and who it chooses to keep outside of its door. And there are certain instances where you will want to have a debate about particular views. But there are sometimes perfectly legitimate reasons why, when someone so obviously has a disgraceful and frankly unpalatable view, such as the British National Party, you can rightly say, I'm not going to choose to invite this person or these people into my organisation, into my environment, to allow them a platform that legitimises their view, however much you might then go on to scrutinise or disagree with it. I think you are perfectly entitled, in the case particularly of a membership organisation, to say you actually have to have a decent amount of merit behind your argument before we will even think or consider about letting you through. But more than that, subject people in that environment, in that membership environment, to feeling uncomfortable and victimised and persecuted. I think there is a duty of care, there is a safeness that you expect to put to the people in your organisation, and that is why we were right to stand by that policy at the time, and one that still continues today, and one that I will continue to defend. So to conclude, this isn't, as has rightly been said, a debate about no platform, but it has context that is relevant. But the wording of the motion, which I'll remind you of, is that it simply says that popular support on its own is enough to justify a platform. Yet no qualification is given as to what popular means, and it could be quite insignificant, and yet we should still provide a platform with no context, a platform with no safeguards, and a platform that might make people, it might not make you feel uncomfortable or persecuted, but it might make others, and I don't want to be part of an organisation or part of a society that gives ground to allow certain individuals to feel persecuted for no good reasons. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the questions.